Hey, Nick.
What's up?
How's it going?
Good.
It's good to have you here, even though you're going to be here pretty often.
Thank you.
It seems. I can't really get rid of you. Nick is one of the hosts here for Easier Said podcast, so we thought it would be a great idea to have him on and give some background about who he is and what he's all about. So Nick is a very smart guy and a very diligent person. I'm lucky enough to call him a brother-in-law, and so these are a lot of compliments. You doing okay?
Keep going.
Yeah, you're all right. So I want to just take a second really fast and just see, kind of who you are and what makes you tick.
Thanks. I will try to do my best to summarize what I'm about. Let's get it on.
All right. Let's start first with just some of your things that you're passionate about.
Yeah, I just really like to learn. Most of the things that I end up doing in my life involve learning something new. Most ventures that I've come across, like most of the things that I've endeavored to do, involve starting from scratch and learning something new.
Like a podcast.
Yeah, and I went to school for business, and that doesn't get you a whole lot of anywhere. So, just anytime I decide that me or the family, we're gonna start a business or we're gonna leap into some venture. I usually don't know what I'm doing, but that's okay because I love to learn, and I always have. So I don't know that I'm passionate about besides the things that we started this podcast for, fatherhood and fitness and mental discipline and all of that fun stuff. I would say I'm passionate about those things. Those are more, I wouldn't call them recreational, but the stuff that you end up spending most of your life doing, like work or family or whatever. Yeah, a lot of that stuff it's always just been new experiences that I've never gotten into. And so I just love to learn. And so from a young age, I always liked going to school. I always liked learning new things. I always am seeking the next thing to up my understanding of things. When I finished college, I wanted, I thought about going on for graduate degree stuff. I'm currently in school right now for some other stuff that we can talk about later maybe, but I just love to learn. Everything that I do, I always seem to be having to learn something, and it's okay because I love it. So yeah, learning is really my one true passion. I can sit and learn, watch, read. I just love to soak in knowledge. That's really the biggest thing. Just love learning.
I think that shows because that is a gift that you have, and people notice that about you, so it's really cool to hear that that's something that you're passionate about. It's just learning. It shows.
Yeah.
You are a family man and a husband and a father. Just go into a little bit of depth on that.
Yeah, I've been married for 8 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, almost a decade. Time flies. Not getting any younger. Hurt my neck drying my head out of the shower this morning. That's what it's like getting old.
Only people in their 30s say that.
Yeah. I've been married for 8 years. We are brothers-in-law, so that means I married your sister.
You did.
Yeah, and we have 4 children. One of them more recent than the other 3. She's 4 months old.
Isn't that always the case? Isn't one of them always
not 4 months old? Yes.
More recent than the other one? Unless you have
one of them is older than the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's 2 months old, not 4 months old. Almost 3. The fourth is new, so I've been a parent of 3 much longer. So I feel new to the whole, I've got 4 kids. I don't really feel qualified to say that yet. But yeah, got 4 kids, and I've been married for 8 years, and yeah, it's going well. I have no complaints. I love my wife. Her name is Brielle, and I love my kids very much. And not much I do throughout the day doesn't remind me of them. And there's not much I do during the day that I don't do for them. Even the things that I do for myself, I find that I'm actually doing for them. So yeah. What else do you want to know about them?
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Sounds like you love them.
My children's names are Levi, the oldest, Joel, the second oldest. We call him Rocky. Our third is our first daughter, girl. Her name is Isla, and our recent child is also a girl, our newborn baby, and her name is Mavie. So Levi, Joel, Isla, and Mavie.
Mavie.
Yep.
Something that people always ask parents is which transition, numbers-wise, for kids was the most difficult. 1 to 2, going from 2 to 3.
Yeah. I think that we would have said 2 to 3. Brielle would definitely say 2 to 3. I would now say 3 to 4. I think 3 to 4, 1 and 2 didn't feel like hardly any difference at all for me. You're lugging them around. You don't have to buy a new vehicle when you have your second. You can. It's nice. True. We did, but you don't really have to. When the third one came, we were like, all right, we got to get a minivan. We need to move out of this. We need to get a bigger house. That was quite a transition. But for me, it's my measuring stick is how hard is it to get out of the house on a daily basis? I don't know why, but I've always thought about that. If we want to go somewhere, how difficult is it to pack them up and leave? And I was kind of pleasantly surprised at 3 wasn't that hard. 4, it takes 30 minutes to leave the house. And I mean, you got to get the kids ready, and then by the time you get one of them ready, the other one's lost the pair of socks that they had on that you put on them. And I don't know. It's just 4 is, for me, 3 to 4 was the biggest transition, I think. And even for the kids, I notice it in the kids, 3 to 4 kind of grows the older kids up a bit.
No, okay.
Yeah, I see things in Levi that are just a product of him becoming a big brother, even more than he was before, having 3 younger siblings versus 2. I don't know, it's weird. It's kind of something you just have to see and experience for yourself. But yeah, I noticed differences in the children. Kind of grows them up a bit. They accept a little more responsibility. If Mavie's crying, I'll notice Levi going over and kind of, rocking her foot or whatever, trying to help soothe her. And we never taught him to do that. I don't know. You just see things. I think 3 to 4 was definitely more of a transition than 2, 3, or 1 to 2. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that measuring stick. How hard is it to get out of the house? For sure,
that's a good one. That's a good one. It takes us 30
minutes. Makes me not want to go anywhere.
2, so what's our problem?
No, it makes me not want to go anywhere.
I can understand that.
People have, the more kids you have, there's a pattern I've found that whoever has more kids, that is the place that you tend to go to. So if you have friends and family, which we do have so many friends and family around, whoever has more kids is usually the host. And that was fine before, but now with 4 kids, I'm like, well, now we all have a lot of kids, and just by formality, I got to pack 4 of mine up and travel. And
when we have some family members who have 6, they're beating us. So maybe that's what it's about. Maybe that's what's going on for real.
What?
It's not really. It's more of a competition.
Oh yeah, who can stay home the most? Yeah. Well, I'll have 6 kids to win that competition. I like to stay home.
Otherwise, just stay home.
I do like to stay home. I think it is hard to get out, and not that I don't enjoy getting out, but I definitely have become more of a homebody the more children that we've had. So yeah, I don't know. It is what it is.
That sounds right. I think that most people are the same way. Yeah. You're a co-host of this podcast. You have the immense honor to work with me. Mm-hmm. We are interested in a lot of the same things, you and I, and you're a very analytical person. Your mindset seems to run on functionality and efficiency and how can you make things better, and I think that is just a testament to your personality. So are those something that you can speak to? And also, what is your vision for the podcast? What would you like to see come out of it?
Yeah, the main reason why I liked the idea of the podcast was because I like to learn so much. I like the idea of sitting down with people that can tell me about things that I've never had the time or ability to learn about. I anticipate some of the guests having, talking about their jobs or their life and having a perspective that I've never had or thought about. And I just really like that. I've noticed, I love to talk to people about, like when you and I talk about your police work in the past, it's just so fascinating to me. And to be able to like have a podcast where we can meet people who have different life experiences, different jobs. I like jobs a lot. I like talking to people about their jobs. Like just asking people what they do and what that involves is fascinating to me. The different ways you can make money in this world and all the random jobs that are out there. I just think it's fascinating to learn about them. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so just being able to sit down with people and kind of feed that beast in me. Like I'm looking forward to that a lot. I just love to learn. I like to hear about things that I've never had the ability to learn about before from people who've had first-hand experience doing that. And if there's an audience that can benefit from that the same way I hope to, that's really my vision for the podcast. I think there's a lot to learn from these guests that we hope to have. And I personally will probably be fascinated by what they have to say. So that's why I'm physically here. I'm looking forward to learning. But yeah, if the audience can get something out of it too, that's why we're here. So that's my vision for the podcast. I am diligent, or I'm what did you say, analytical to a fault. So hopefully I can learn a little bit about how to be better myself as a dad, as a business owner, as a person. So yeah, I mean, I like to do things the right way, and if I can't do something the right way, I tend to have, what's it called? Paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, analysis paralysis.
And yeah. So yeah, I am analytical. I think it serves me well in some areas, and I think that in other areas it does not serve me well. So yeah, I mean, I just love to learn, and I'm hoping that I can become a better person meeting the people that we hope to meet, and the audience feels the same. That's why I'm here.
That's great.
Yeah.
What are some areas where you feel like your analysis paralysis is not a good thing?
Oh, sometimes it's the everyday little things, and sometimes it's the big things. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just fear of trying something new, even though I love to try new things and learn. Sometimes taking that first step is still hard for me. I love to learn so much, but that doesn't mean that getting into it doesn't involve a little bit of sometimes fear of failure. I would say fear of failure is probably the best way to describe it. I have always had a little bit of fear of failure, and that can stop, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that can be pretty debilitating if you let it. So yeah, I mean, I've something that I've gotten better at. In 8 years since Brielle and I, became business partners and spouses, a lot has changed because of our willingness to curb that fear of failure and just leap and do things. I don't know that I could have done it without her, but yeah, in my life, fear of failure can be something that stops me from moving forward in life if I let it. And I've had to practice and strive constantly in all these different endeavors that I've gotten into in my adult life to push past that. And I think I've done a decent job. We're here on a podcast, and you just do it. You just jump in and do it. And you've been able to do a lot more than me. I jumped in, and I currently own 2 businesses. One of them relatively new, and the other one recently took over. And those are big steps. Those are big steps to take in life. So I'm busy with so many things right now that involved just. I don't know if anybody knows what it's like starting a business. It's not easy. It's scary. It's probably one of the, I don't want to speak out of turn, but it's probably one of the biggest leaps you could take besides getting married and having children. Those are huge unknowns, but they're natural and we're meant for it. So it's different. Starting a business is probably one of the biggest leaps you could take, I think, in life. It's scary. You don't know a lot of things. You don't know where your income's going to come from. You don't know if it's going to work. You don't know if you're going to have customers. You don't know if you're going to be good enough to fulfill the needs that you're promising or the services you're promising. There's so many things about it's just putting yourself out there. it's like public speaking is the number one fear in humans, right? Everyone
Right.
knows that. It's kind of like that. It's like you're putting yourself out in the public, and you don't get to live in your little shell anymore when you own a business. That's really, I think, what is scariest for me. I don't know what other people would say is the scariest part of starting a business, but for me, somebody who's a little more quiet, a little more private, would be fine to just be at home and, you know, keep to myself. I have to work on like relationships and, you know, making sure that I'm not just being a hermit, and I'm, number one, fulfilling my my duty that God calls me to put yourself out there and be a minister to the public. That's number one. That would be the number one reason you don't want to just keep to yourself and hole up. But outside of that, just, I know that it's good. It's good to put yourself out there. Not only is it stretching for us as humans, but it's good for relationships, and there is a value to networking and putting yourself out there. But that's my biggest challenge. So fear of failure in that way. Anyway, getting back to the fear of failure thing, it's scary. And so, but you just do it. Sometimes you just have to flex that muscle. And the more that you flex that muscle, that I have this fear of failure, it's stopping me from taking the leap, but I'm going to stuff it as best you can and just sometimes close your eyes and take the leap. There are other ways to get past it. I mean, we have, you know, I have a wife who's very supportive, and it's nice to take a leap with somebody. It makes it a little easier. Sometimes it's prayer. Sometimes it's asking the Lord for wisdom and courage on how to go about something, and that helps you move forward. There's lots of ways. Often for me, it's a little bit of those things, but still I'm just often still terrified of things, and it's just stuffing it. And the more that you can flex that muscle, the stronger you get. But yeah, that analytical side of me probably mostly comes from just having fear of failure and putting myself out there and not wanting to fail. Can stop you from doing the things that you should do, and you should almost have a willingness to fail sometimes. Well, you will fail, and the whole thing might not fail, whatever it is that you're doing, but you will fail in some way. There will be small failures or big failures, and that's not what you should be afraid of, which is what we are afraid of. Mm-hmm. What you should be afraid of is not being willing to push through those failures. That's the real fear. It should be. And if you can overcome failures, that's how things grow. So yeah, I mean, being super analytical, not only does it stop me from doing something if I don't know exactly how to do it, or you know, I haven't read up on this enough, or I haven't researched this enough to no, like sometimes you just need to like do a little bit of research, be smart, be wise, but just get into it and do it. And don't let that fear of failure creep in and stop you from progressing in life. But yeah, I've really gotten to a point in my life personally where it's always there, but not as much as it used to be. Definitely working in a restaurant for a lot of the last 6-7 years definitely helps, because like you're right out in front of the public, like literally on a daily basis. You're in front of people, working in front of people. It's not an office where it's private. Like you're in the public when you work in a restaurant. You're putting yourself out there in that way. Kind of like helps you get used to the idea of, you know, being in front of people and putting yourself out there business wise. Right. So that's helped. But, you know, I found that the last business venture that Brielle and I have gotten into was a lot easier than it would have been 8 years ago. Just because you just got to flex that muscle. You got to keep pushing forward in your life, keep taking chances, keep doing your research and being smart, but don't stop taking chances. Don't stop taking those leaps of faith. Flex that muscle, and you can kind of curb that fear of failure that I think is in all of us. So yeah, get better.
I totally agree. I think that fear of failure is one of the things that people don't understand until you're facing it. So a good example would be, for me, I'm a perfectionist through and through. Mm-hmm. And so the fear of failure for me isn't that I don't think I can do it, because I think I can pretty much do anything. Life has taught me that, and I've failed plenty of times. But it's that I want to do it the best way, and I think you're this way as well, so that when you're putting out that product or you're speaking to somebody or you're trying to grow your business, you want to do it in the best way possible. And I also suffer from analysis paralysis in the fact that I want everything to line up perfectly if I'm going to even go after it. And so I think that can be a hindrance to growth. But I love what you said. I think everybody has it in them, and you got to go out and you got to fail. You just do. And Dad said one time, he was talking about, I was talking about the expansion of our company and a few different aspects therein. And he said, you know, if it doesn't work out, they're going to take your birthday away. It's like, you know, and for me it clicked because that's a good point. Like maybe I'm overthinking this and thinking that it's the end of the world if it doesn't work.
Right.
And I think that keeps people in quicksand to say, there's also aspects of it where you're in different stages of your life. It can feel easier to take those leaps, and financial security is huge.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference when you're, okay, I'm going to take this leap and start a company from scratch, but this is my only source of income.
Right.
So there's secondary consequences to if this doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, then you have to pivot quicker than maybe you otherwise would have. And for business, a lot of times if you can get over a initial hump, I hear that a lot from people that I listen to, is if you can get over the initial lag of success, then it seems to come. And I think a lot of people get to that lag and then life hits them and they're like, I have rent, I have expenses, I have a family, I have X, Y, and Z, and I can't wait for this business to take off, and then it ends before it could have been great. That's all just my perspective on that, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. I think fear of failure is usually one of two things. It's financial security. If you're, married and have kids and people are depending on you, I think that's definitely probably, I would say, one of the leading causes of fear of failure. It's financial security. You're worried about putting food on the table. You're worried about losing everything. You're worried about using whatever security you have, and that stops people to worry of that. Another thing that I think is one of the leading causes of fear of failure is just caring way too much what people think.
Oh, yeah.
Like, honestly, just caring way too much what people think. You don't want to go out there and fail in the marketplace, and then all the town square is going to know. Everyone's going to know, oh, yeah, remember when Nick tried that one thing and it didn't work out? What an idiot.
Yeah.
That's what people are afraid of. And then you have to step back and realize that no one really thinks about you that much. Like, no one really is thinking about you that much. Like, we're not the most important person in everyone around us lives, I think people are just afraid too much of what other people think. And if you can kind of get over that hurdle and realize that you aren't the most important person in everyone's lives.
What?
And yeah,
that's true.
And and what also is true, more importantly, is that the ones that are important, that you are important to, they're rooting for you and will be there to help you if and when you fail, small or big. So the fear is like totally irrational and unfounded. Right. Those who don't care don't matter. They won't be thinking, they're not even going to know that you failed. Right. Or if they do, they'll move on to something else literally minutes after they find out you failed. It just doesn't stay in, people don't care that much.
Right.
And then those that do care, they're there to help you. They are there to help you. And in my life, that has been 100% the case. I got a job out of college. Didn't work out. It didn't work out. And I had a job. I had a job a few weeks after that. And it was, my father-in-law helping me out. Gave us some money to live on. People that care about you, they will be there to help you. I get emotional thinking about it. Ugh. Yeah, it's the people that care. They're there to help you when you fail. So, don't be afraid to fail. It's stupid. Doesn't make any sense. It's irrational.
We're going to wrap this segment up already, believe it or not. But I want to pick up with motivation because what you're talking about is external motivation, good or bad, from people around you. And I also want to talk about support systems, two of the things that you're just talking about. So take a quick break, and we will be right back. So when we left off, we were talking a little bit about analysis paralysis and how that can be difficult at times, especially for certain personalities. And then we got a little bit into support systems. So if you could talk about the most influential people in your life and how that impacts you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the number one most influential person in my life is my wife, Brielle. She is...
I know her.
Yeah. So this will all make sense to you.
Okay.
I'm a as I was saying earlier, I would be happy to just live a life of quiet and loneliness. She's more of an extrovert, but one thing that I have to make sure that I really work on is I love people, but it doesn't always come across that way. When you're quiet and, shy or whatever, people don't necessarily feel the love. So just keep it simple there. Brielle is a great example of the opposite of that. Doesn't matter how you feel, doesn't matter how she feels, doesn't matter what kind of day she's having. She is always the same. She's consistent in how she treats people. She's consistent in even her attitude in the house. Like, it's not a show. She could wake up and be having a bad day right from the beginning, but you often wouldn't know it. Because her children are important to her. I'm assuming I'm important to her. Yeah, she's just a great example of consistency in kindness and love. And that is one of the biggest things that I have to make sure that I constantly work on is people need to feel the love. It's what we're called to do, being believers. We don't get to just be quiet and keep to ourselves and put the head down and go to Walmart and ignore everybody kind of mentality. We don't get to do that. It's not a luxury we're afforded as believers, and it's not right. And Brielle is the best example of that. It's good for our soul. It's good for our hearts when we can make sure that we are loving other people the way that Christ wants us to. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the reason why this is my number one answer is because it's the most important thing. Like, everything else we're going to talk about isn't as important as loving people. It's the number one mission. So that's something that I have to really, just being an introvert and just being a little more on the quieter side, I have to make sure that I don't let that part of my personality take over and just go, Brielle is the best example of that. I think it's a salvation issue, as people would call it. And so she is a really good person to live with because I can just be constantly reminded that Christ is the standard and Brielle's a close second. Like, she's somebody that I really look up to in that way, and it's good that I have her because it reminds me that I need to go out on a limb and be the same way. So she keeps me on my toes. She's the best influence for the most important thing that we're called to be, and that's lovers of people, and she's number one in my book. So yeah, business-wise, fatherhood-wise, we're going to have some guests on that I really look up to, as far as fatherhood goes. I look up to people who are exceptional. Like, I'm constantly in awe of people that I come across in my daily life where I'm just like blown away by their mentality, their level of success, the way that they conduct their business, the way that they conduct themselves. I'm just easily starstruck, and I love to learn from people like that. My father-in-law is a great example. Your dad, my father-in-law, is just a great example. We're very similar. Like, I'm often compared to him in temperament and mentality. And I agree. Like, I do see, similarities between him and I love him very much. And he is a great role model for how I can take what God gave me for a personality and use it for good instead of just I feel like I've been challenged in my life with, hey, you've been given this temperament, this mentality, this personality, and you can either go this way with it and just be a complete failure at the gifts that I gave you, or you can go this way and you can really have strong attributes that are used for good. And Will is just a great example of having that more quiet, calmer, more intense. I would say intense demeanor is kind of what I'm getting at, and using it for good instead of, we all have things like that. Everyone's into the Enneagrams these days, and I've been labeled as an Enneagram 5. If anybody's familiar with the Enneagrams, I'm not, but my wife has told me enough about them. If you're an 8, that's bad.
8's bad.
8s are angry. Like 8s are the angry people. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is it doesn't mean it's bad. Like if you're given the gift of being an 8, it's a gift and it can be used for good. But 8s kind of have the stereotype of being like the bad people because it's the angry personality or whatever.
Yeah.
And no, it's just what you do with the personality and the gifts that you were given. You use them for good or use them for bad. I've been labeled as a 5, which is kind of like number 2 bad personality. Like if it's,
I wondered if it was a scale, but
yeah, I think it's, you're not supposed to do that, but it's kind of like a easy correlation to make.
All right.
Most people would probably agree. I guess it's opinion, but yeah, I'm a 5, which is like step down from 8. It's, you can be kind of viewed a certain way. And I actually kind of agree. I listened to a podcast series with my wife that went through and met people of different numbers. And we listened to the 5 episode. And I was like, this guy's a jerk. Like, I would not like this dude in real life.
The person most closely associated with your personality.
Yeah. And I was like, but I relate to everything that he's saying. But man, this dude is like a piece of work.
Dude, that's
so
funny.
Anyway, that's all I mean. Is like, do I use the things the way that I am and the way that I was made for good, or do I use it for what can easily be do I use it for what is easiest, which is maybe I think it's just perception. I think my personality is easily perceived as intense, intimidating, things like that. And I just got to make sure that I, use what I've been given for good. And Will is a great example of that because I think we're very similar. I think that he's so generous, and I watch the way that he conducts his business and the way he puts himself out there, being somebody just like me who is fine to be at home to himself, quiet, peaceful, but he goes to his business every day and he's a totally not inauthentic, Christ-like. The way he can speak to people and just have a totally counterintuitive attitude to what, people would see people of our intense personalities like. Anyway, so he's a role model for me, just kind of like, all right, how do I want to run my business? I want to run my business with a cheerful attitude. I want to love people that I come across. I want to treat our customer base with love and respect, all those very basic things. Well, how do you do that when your personality might not lend towards that easily? He's somebody that I've looked to in a business sense. And we've had many conversations about it. It's just getting up and going to work and choosing love every day. So yeah, he's a big role model of mine business-wise. But yeah, like I said, Brielle is just, I'm lucky to have her as an example every day of what it looks like to love people no matter how you feel. And that's, I think, what I need the most in my life is just choosing to love people no matter how you feel on any given day. It's more challenging for me, and I'm blessed to have a wife that makes it look easy, so I have somebody to look up to each day.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, there's a couple role models.
I'd
probably have to think about.
They're important.
That's a pretty deep question. I might have to think about. Yeah, who are your role models? I might have to give that some thought.
Yeah, well, if only you were going to be on every podcast and give us a little bit of insight.
Yeah.
The other thing before the break that I wanted to talk a little bit more about was your motivation. And it sounded like you were kind of getting at some external motivators for you with the way you do things, caring what people think about your successes and failures. Motivation is a difficult thing to wrap your head around because I think everybody is different. And so what motivates you might not motivate me, obviously. But in a contrast of internal, external, some people are extremely internally motivated and don't care what the world says. And those are some of the people that you might see suffering in silence, air quotes.
Right. Yeah.
Is because they don't need any external forces. They're just going to get their goals by their own pressure, kind of. And then there's the opposite flip side to that coin is I can't go to the gym by myself. You know, I don't complete goals by myself. I need a motivator outside. I need somebody to push me, or some of those motivations can even be not asked for. So I find myself somewhere in the middle. I'm pretty motivated when people aren't looking, but I can also respond well to constructive criticism, I think. So if somebody tells me I'm lacking in an area, my personality kicks in and wants to get better in that area. But it's not necessarily for their benefit or the way they see me. It's because of areas in my life I think I can get better. So when it comes to internal, external, where do you fall?
Yeah, I think that is I think that whether you're internally motivated or externally motivated, there is a fine line between doing that in a healthy way and doing it in an unhealthy way. I'm not externally motivated at all. I don't mind recreationally being externally motivated, like when we get together and work out as a group, or that's all. It's fun. It doesn't motivate me. I don't want to go to the gym with somebody. I don't want to, which is actually, this is kind of funny that I'm thinking about it, because both of the businesses that I own are partnerships. So I don't know. In some areas it's kind of nice, but that's different. But yeah, I'm very internally motivated. I definitely see the value of suffering in silence, and I almost don't like talking about it because then you're not suffering.
You're
in
shedding
silence.
a light,
right? Then it's like, oh, suffering in silence.
I mean,
that's not cool anymore.
Just cancel out the other half of this interview, then.
No, yeah, it's I just don't often see the value in. You don't have anything to talk about until you've climbed the mountaintop. There's no good stories from people who made it to the base,
or who everybody
aren't.
Was following while they're preparing for this thing,
right.
And then get there and fail.
Yeah,
like you don't see a lot of those videos.
Yeah,
here, watch my prep for 6 months, and then watch me get
nowhere.
a quarter of the way up the mountain and quit.
Yeah,
right.
There is a bit of I think men and women alike, but I can't relate to women at all. I can only relate to men, so I'll speak for men.
Join the club.
I think that, just factually speaking, I'm a man. I kind of know better how men think. I think that for men, there is a little bit of nobility in long suffering. So many men do suffer in silence. They bear the burden of their family's finances a lot of times, and they don't complain. They bear the burden of wondering if they're a good father, and they don't complain. You know, a lot of men can relate to suffering in silence in lots of ways that I think we all kind of can relate to. But for me, it's like, what do I do for fun? Like, you know, I'm into working out. I'm into, I want to get up early on a daily basis. I want to eat healthy for a certain period of time. Like all those like dumb things that are good and beneficial, but they're really more like my hobbies and stuff. I don't want to talk about it. I enjoy it. Like part of the hobby is that I enjoy that I'm internally motivated, and that there is a bit of like, keeping to yourself, and just there's a nobility to it. And that's just the way that I enjoy it. I don't necessarily love talking about hard things that I'm endeavoring to do. So, and I'm not externally motivated to do those things at all. And Brielle knows this. I do not need a reminder that I'm supposed to be eating healthy. I don't want a reminder. I just like doing things inside. I'm internally motivated. I think that this is kind of like the personality thing where like it kind of sounds negative, but it's just the way that I am. It's not negative. I am very internally motivated, and I don't necessarily get a ton of motivation from group work or, I'm okay to go to the gym alone. I'm okay. I feel motivated myself to go to the gym alone. I feel motivated myself to to eat healthy on a daily basis. I don't need to do diets with somebody. I don't need to work out with somebody. But interestingly enough, like I was saying earlier, my businesses are partnerships. Brielle and I are technically partners in the one, and then I have a business partner in the other. And I very much enjoy that. And I think that that's where the healthiness comes in. I think that people who suffer in silence, but like don't know how to reach out, like that's probably not the best way to do it. And also, if you're trying something and you claim that you're not internally motivated, but you seem to always fail at the things that you're trying, maybe you're not internally motivated. Maybe you should try some accountability and external motivation for once. And you might be wrong about which way you lean. But I think in the things that matter, which fitness and health and the quality of food that we put in our bodies and all that stuff, even, our Christian walk, those things are important. Like, there are some things that you should not be internally motivated about, even if you are generally an internally motivated person. As believers, we aren't supposed to be internally motivated. That's a group project, forever and always. So get over it. You can't do your Christian walk alone. It's not the way it's supposed to be, and it's not going to work. And in the business where my business and my business partner, I love it that way, and I wouldn't do it any other way. I enjoy having a partner. I enjoy that we share the responsibility, we share the goods, we share the bads. I do feel motivated to work in that capacity with someone else. So I think that as long as you're keeping a healthy balance, you can be too internally motivated, but there are just some things that you shouldn't go down that road with. So yeah, I think I have a pretty good healthy balance. I try to keep things that I'm internally motivated about to less important things, because working with people, I think, is generally always a good thing and is important. So I like to be internally motivated about things that are more recreational, like, let me try a diet for 6 months. Let me try a workout program for 3 months. Those are things that ultimately they're for fun. They're not that important. But when it comes to family life, when it comes to your family's finances, when it comes to raising your children, when it comes to being a husband or like a spouse, or when it comes to your faith, when it comes to business, and there's things on the line. Most of the time, I find like those things are group work. You can't be internally motivated about your marriage. Doesn't work. So I think that generally keeping that in check is a good idea. If that makes sense.
Yeah, being able to just kind of bounce one off of the other, because there's plenty of times where you're going to need somebody to come in and say, hey, I noticed this about you that maybe you could work on or you need to work on, especially in the important things, like your walk with the Lord or your marriage, or how you're parenting.
Yeah. If you're not doing a good job at something in your marriage, it doesn't work to just be like, buck up and I'll get better at it. I'm just going to do it. Like, you need to talk to your spouse about these things.
Insert macho voice.
Yeah. You need to it's not going to fly. Like, you can try that all you want, but your spouse won't get it. It won't help them at all. Like, you need communication. It's just about communication. I don't think that there are some things that the important things I find you have to be externally motivated and see it as a group project. You can't do everything by yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's well said. That's well said. And being able to notice the difference for when you're lacking. One thing that I thought of when you were just explaining that was if you're too internally motivated, let's say, in your marriage, and you decide that you're lacking in an area, but it's not clear to your partner, most things take time. Or things that take time to overcome. Like, if you have a disposition towards your spouse that maybe needs work, it's not like you can say, there's been hurt in the past and I'm going to change tomorrow and then everything will be good. No. Because your partner probably won't see that progression until it's way out into the future, when you're like, I've noticed a change in you in the last 6 months. And I appreciate that. But if you're not communicating with them, that's tough.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, personal experience tells me that you can try to change all you want without communicating to your partner. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. You're not talking enough. If there's something that if there's a thing that I'm struggling with in our marriage where I'm too angry, or I'm not patient enough, anything worth fixing isn't going to happen overnight, because the problem is there for a reason. The problem is in us, and it takes time to change that. It takes practice. You can't, it takes communication. You can't string your partner along with the ups and downs and the emotional turmoil of trying to get better at something. Because as you have periods of success and periods of failure, like your parent, you got to have communication, because everything's a work in progress. And yeah, it's just, it doesn't work to do things by yourself. Communication is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just pivot and transition a little bit to, I have to cross off half my interview because I was asking you all about the trends that you try. Not really.
I love to go into detail.
Well,
Feel
by
free.
all means.
Yeah.
By all means.
Fire away.
I'm the kind of guy who would love to try some of these trends,
Yeah.
but can't follow through on for the most part. Other stuff takes precedent for me.
Yeah.
I do travel for work a lot, which makes things pretty
Super
difficult.
hard. That would be very hard.
Yeah. So I find myself when I'm home, man, I'll go 2-3 weeks, like just awesome. And then when I'm moving, I'm out of my gym, I'm out of my my diet. I'm having to eat on the move, whatever. And then it kind of fizzles out.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I have to work on. But you don't seem to be that way. And I know that you've done some hard things. Just because you said you just wanted to suffer in silence, so now I'm just going to bring it all to light so everybody can know what you do. But you like to kind of test things out.
I do, yeah.
Which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I kind of admire that about you, because you're a curious person.
Yeah.
And that's probably why you are so good in these settings. So you kind of want to see the benefit of the latest health trend, or the latest diet, or the latest workout program. So without going too far into it, because we could talk about this for an hour.
Yeah, this could be its own podcast.
Yeah, it for sure could. And we'll talk more about it down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some of them that you have found most difficult? I know you tried 75 hard.
Yep.
You're currently in the middle of like a carnivore diet.
Yeah.
And you're a very regimented person. What has been the biggest struggle or the hardest, I guess, trend to work through? And go. I'm just going to sit in the background, try to learn.
Usually the hardest thing to push through is, for me it's injury. But I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's been a few things that I've gotten deep into, and then you tweak something, and you have to take a break, and you can't pick back up where you were, and I don't know. That's all normal stuff. But the hardest thing that I've tried doing, a few years ago, I did a powerlifting program. And long story short, I had the best results I'd ever had as far as like strength and physique was powerlifting. And it was a program. It was squats, bench press, standing shoulder press, pen lay rows, and deadlifts.
Yep.
That was it. That was the only 5 exercises you did.
The old 5x5.
3 times a week. Yeah, 5x5. Everybody knows 5x5. I got deep into that. I bench pressed. I did all of those exercises. I did more weight than I ever had as I progressed through the program. It was pretty incredible, and it was hard. Squatting 3 times a week sucks. In this program, the only exercise you do every workout is squatting.
Doing legs once a week
is
no fun.
No, it's not. The program, you work out 3 times a week, and you're rotating through all the exercises except for squats. Every workout, every day begins with your squatting.
Oh man.
And so there's a progressive overload throughout the program so you're squatting more weight every workout. As long as you succeed the workout, you progress the weight the next workout, and so on and so forth. So imagine going to the gym. It was nice only going to the gym 3 times a week, but
right.
When you're going to the gym 3 times a week, imagine squatting 3 times a week, week after week after week. And as you progress through the program, it's heavy squatting.
Right.
like heavy squatting.
Right.
And I'm 6'2", 6'3" in shoes, and pretty thin and lanky. So squatting is not easy for me.
Okay.
I'm not, bench pressing isn't easy. I've got long arms. Like I'm not built for powerlifting.
Gotcha.
Maybe I am. That's an assumption. So maybe if I was jacked and you see a lot of power lifters who are like, 6'5", 300 pounds. I don't think that that's me.
Right.
I don't think that that's me. I don't think I have that body type. So this was super challenging for me. I think that was probably the hardest challenge I ever set for myself, was doing this very specific program where I was squatting every single workout, like getting yourself to the gym. But boy, did it build like a callus that I don't have anymore. And so I definitely remember, like I can now understand like the tangibleness of like when you build that callus and you toughen up and things get easier, it's incredible. Like I was squatting 3 days a week, heavy, and it was fine. Could I imagine myself doing that now? Heck no. Yeah, I'd have to build that callus up all over again. There's like a mental strength you build when you do hard things like that over and over and over and over. That besides FitFeb 2020.
Oh man, we gotta have a podcast.
Yeah,
we gotta have the guys on for that.
Yeah,
we should try to do it again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
For anybody
that's the thing is maybe FitFeb 2020 is the hardest thing I've ever done, because when you say let's do it again, the answer in my mind is no.
No shot.
No shot. I would squat again.
I think everybody agrees with that.
But no shot. We'd have Anyway, that was difficult. That was just hours of working out every day for a month. But that's a whole different thing.
Maybe we brought on the pandemic. Maybe it was because
it was a month before. It was a month before things hit the fan.
Yeah. Let me reset.
They seem like two different times to me.
No, I totally agree.
Like FitFeb,
and it all seems like a blur.
Month. Yeah, like FitFeb or that month of February happened, and then the very next month everything went down. But I don't even remember them being like back-to-back events. Like FitFeb is like its own thing in the timeline.
Right.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Man.
Let me reset. We'll get right back to that because I have a couple more questions about the 5x5 and some other stuff that you're doing. Roger.
Check.
And we are back.
Holla.
We were talking about doing hard things, and it kind of morphed into FitFeb.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, which is everybody but like 10 people.
Yeah. Again, silence and suffering. Suffering and silence. That definitely
that was the epitome.
We don't talk about that a whole lot.
I think it's repressed memories.
Makes us cry.
Makes me cry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What do you want to know?
What was the premise? What did we do? I think that you'd be a good job explaining it because it was kind of your idea.
Yeah, it was.
Was it inspired by Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
Sober October.
Yeah, we
plug Joe Rogan. We're gonna be
Joe.
at his level soon. Hey Joe.
What's up, Rogue? Yeah. There was a fitness challenge that him and his buddies did on their podcast quite a few years ago, and it got me thinking, like, why don't we do that? It was literally the same concept.
I blame you.
Yeah, I'm sure, I don't remember if we talked about it. I don't know if it was solely my idea. I don't remember. Anyway.
I think you and I had talked about it a little bit, but
yeah.
I was kind of like, go for it. At the time, I was a cop, so my shift work was all over the place. But
so we had this idea to kind of do the same thing, that we would get these heart rate monitors and we would work out. We would invite people to join this challenge where whoever can work out the most in a month. It was kind of just a competition. We picked the shortest month of the year because we knew it was going to suck, February, and we called it FitFeb. So basically what happened was I called everybody that I knew, family, friends, and I explained the premise, like, hey, we're going to collectively buy these heart rate monitors, and we're going to spend the month of February working out and trying to get as fit as possible, and it's a competition. The heart rate monitor will measure how much you're working out, and it's going to give you points based on how high you can keep your heart rate, and the person with the most points at the end of the month will win. Disclaimer, it is a competition. There is a winner. It's going to be intense. We did not know how intense it was going to be, but we knew it was going to be intense.
After the first day. This was a mistake.
Yeah. So of all the people that I called, we had, I want to say 7, right? 7 people ended up, I don't know if it was 7 including me or 7 total.
Something in that, yeah, 7 or 8.
7 or 8 of us
7.
Agreed to do it. And we all got these monitors, and February 1st, we just started working out.
This is 2020, by the way.
This is in 2020.
2020, yeah. February 2020.
Yeah. So this is, that's the very basic premise. Score as many points as you can wearing this heart rate monitor, which equated to work out as much as you can. And there was different strategies. We all realized the more cardio type of working out you did, the more points you got, because that activates your heart rate, elevates your heart rate. You know, if you wanted to just do bicep curls all month, you weren't going to win. Your heart rate doesn't go up doing bicep curls. So there was a bit of a bias in the competition. You had to work out a certain way if you wanted to win. Running on the treadmill, rowing machine, doing the elliptical, HIIT workouts. But, doing a HIIT workout for 20 minutes is going to get you so many points because that's how they're designed, right? You can't do a HIIT workout for 2 hours. So you had to kind of there was a way, you kind of found a groove. And it ended up being quite the competition. It was very difficult. I will say that it was competitive, but it definitely did become, I don't know if it was more than the competition, but it became more of an inspiration for each other to somebody who's not externally motivated. That was not necessarily true during this month. I was internally motivated because I wanted to win, but I was externally motivated to you guys. Like the thought of just quitting and spending, not working out for 2 weeks and you guys seeing that, that was not going to happen. So in that sense, yeah, I was definitely externally motivated, but the sense of camaraderie and suffering and competition was really cool. And while it was competitive, there definitely was some, encouragement, and it was healthy in that way. People were motivated to work out. We were accountable to each other, and everybody performed. Everybody performed. There were some. I know that there were some people who had some time lapses in their workouts, but everybody finished the month, and everybody scored an exceptional number of points. I don't know that there wasn't a single person in the group who would have scored, correct me if I'm wrong, higher on average than people who use this heart rate, because it's it's like an app you can get. And so a lot of people, there's leaderboards and stuff or whatever. All of us scored higher on average that month than most people who use this platform. Everybody did a really good job. No one quit. Everyone finished the month in some capacity. So that was really cool. And we all look back on that. I make it sound so awesome and glorious and fun, but it stunk. In the moment,
it was brutal.
It was brutal. I mean, ridiculous. People working out twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. If you could only work out once a day, you might have pulled a 4-hour workout if you had time that day. I mean, there was a point in the month where I think it was somebody worked out for 6 hours. They did a 6-hour workout session.
Oh yeah,
and that kind of triggered. I want to do a 6-hour workout session.
Oh, it did? That did not happen for me.
It didn't? Okay.
No, okay. Yes, I wanted to.
Yeah.
But logistically speaking, I mean, I can tell you the exact miles per hour and incline that you need on a treadmill to get you into the
it got so efficient.
80th percentile of your max heart rate for a long period of time.
So efficient. Yeah.
The first day.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I think my brother Tyson did 3 workouts. Some crazy number, and put up some crazy stats, and then that kind of launched the benchmark.
Right. So the first day went like this. I had to go out of town to work that weekend, and that I think the Saturday was the 1st of February. So I'm off to a rough start, but I'm going to get the workout in, right? So I was away for work, and I was working all day long, so I had to get up early to complete my workout. So I wake up at 4 a.m, and I get out on the road, and I go for a run, and I come back to the house, and I've scored I want to say 200 MEPs or something, 200 points or something like that. And so I go to work. No one's up yet. Like, I'm the first one. I'm like, oh, I'm the first one to log in points. I put up 200 points. This is great.
How long did it take you to get those 200 points?
It was like an hour and a half run.
So people can get a benchmark of approximately how
it might have been like 180 points or something. It wasn't easy to get points.
Right.
You really had to get your heart rate up there. But anyway, yeah, I scored 180 points going for this hour and a half run or whatever. And I felt like I legit felt like I'm the leader. I'm going to win. No one else is doing what I'm doing. No one else just got up at 4 o'clock.
Which is true, but
I felt like this. I had it in the bag. So I go to work. I put in the 10-hour day. I come back in the evening at 6 o'clock. I log into the app to see how everyone else did on day one. I'm in 7th place, 6th or 7th place. One of the people put up 800 points that day. And it was at that and took over first place. It was at that moment.
800 points. For context, people should know that's like 4 to 5 hours in 80% of your max heart rate.
In hindsight, they wanted to do the same thing I did. They wanted to just prove a point and blow people away, and they had a higher benchmark than I did for how to accomplish that. They put in it was 800, 600, 550, and then there's Nick at the bottom at 180. That was when I knew this was going to stink. So I put my running shoes back. It's 6, 7 o'clock at night. I put my running shoes back on. It's the middle of winter, by the way, in northern New York, close to Canada where I was. And so it was probably close to, 10, 20 degrees outside.
Right.
I bundle back up. We're staying at a place that's out in the woods. And so to get to the village where we were working, I had to walk about 2 miles down like these trails to get there. So I just had to put the heart rate monitor back on. I dress up and I go out for a walk. I walked for 4 hours that night to put myself back. Not joking. I get to the village and I walk around until midnight. I got lost on the way back to the house.
Oh, good.
My phone, you got to have your phone to record the heart rate, whatever, and log your points or whatever. Yep. And I was talking to Brielle most of the time just for something to do. But I am just like speed walking around the village of Saranac Lake for 4 hours. Right. So I'm talking to catch back up, to put myself back into the competition, just to get myself back into the competition.
Right.
And my phone, so I'm talking to Brielle on the phone just to keep myself entertained because it's boring. I did the same loop around the village, like a mile loop. And
what were the locals thinking up there? They're probably like, what is the matter with this guy?
I don't know. This crazy guy's walking around here like probably calling the police, like, check this guy out. And so talking on the phone and running the heart rate monitor, my phone died on the way home. So I'm walking down this 2-mile trail, like roads where, there's a Y here, then a left or right here. And I'm like, I actually took a wrong turn and it's getting colder. It's midnight. And I'm like, I'm going to die because of this stupid competition. Like, I'm out here with no GPS. I don't quite remember how to get back to this person's house. And I ended up taking the wrong turn one time. Thankfully realized nothing looks familiar, doubled back, and I ended up finding my way home. But for a while there, I was pretty nervous. And, but moreover, I was a little annoyed that I wasn't sure if my MEPs were getting recorded because my phone died.
Priorities.
We found out later that they could log points and then up and then sync. Yeah, but my phone died, and I was concerned about 2 things: death and not getting the points that I was working for while my phone was dead.
Very very similar things to worry about. Yeah. Death.
So yeah, that was crazy. That was what day one looked like, and I think we all kind of had our eyes opened a bit to how awful the competition was going to be. Yeah. And I will say this: we can get more into it at some point, and we're going to do it now. But we. A lot of us scored more points than Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Using the same monitor.
Using the same platform.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. No big deal.
I think one of the coolest things that we did was start a separate messenger group that just posted motivational videos of each other working out.
Yeah, I'm at the gym. Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm at the gym. Where are you at? Corbin, where are you at?
Yeah.
Tyler, where are you at?
Yeah.
All these guys. I loved that about it because it kind of gave that human element again to we're all striving for the same goals.
Yeah.
The other part that I really liked about it, besides those videos, and we actually made a video, so maybe we'll link that at some point so people can watch us suffer.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And all of the data and analytics are done on that whole workout program. It ended up being something crazy amount of hours per day per contestant, I guess you could say.
Of the month, you worked out so many days of that month. Total.
And the calorie expenditure was, I want to say it was close to 2,000 per person per day.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That's insane.
I ate whatever I want that month.
Yeah,
it was amazing. And still lost weight. Yeah.
But I think the best part about it was everybody was kind of at different places. We had varying ranges of BMI and varying ranges of goals where they wanted to be. I remember one of the participants getting about 3/4 of the way through and was like, I'm at my goals, so I'm not going to be doing these.
Killing myself.
I'm not going to kill myself, but we're going to keep it going. And that's a pretty admirable thing to do.
Yeah.
But towards the end, we had everybody submit video of why they're doing this.
Oh, yeah.
And we were able to compile that into a video. And at the end of the month, we had a party, and there was cupcakes there. Oh, so good.
I love a cupcake.
And
sounds pretty good.
It was fun to watch those videos because it was more than fitness for most people.
Yeah.
It was more than a competition for most people. And there was a lot of teary eyes that day. But we also did a wife compilation at the end, kind of saying,
oh, man.
you know, like I watched you, here's what I saw, you know, I'm so proud of you, this and this and that.
That's right.
And like it kind of brought home the real motivation because it's very easy for men to go, I think men in particular, to go like, I'm the top dog and I'm going to win this competition. Because the competition went to a whole new level after that first day.
Yeah.
And guys pretty much just killing themselves. And you have to remember, too, that people had different jobs. So some people were more flexible with their schedule, had more hours to do. Some people couldn't. I remember I was really happy with where I got. I can't remember how many thousands and thousands of MEPs I had, but I was very happy with what I accomplished. But just so people can realize some perspective, I remember working 16-hour shift at my police job and going home and working out for 4 hours. So that's 20 hours.
Yeah.
And just trying to find ways. And people did 7-hour workouts for 1,000 MEP workout.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how healthy that was. But
I bought some fruit chews one day and went to the gym and just didn't stop. Just every hour popped one of those glucose chews.
That would have been smart.
Spent 6 hours in the gym. I did that one time. That did not happen again. But usually it was, split workouts or whatever. 9 days on February 19th, I bought an elliptical off of Marketplace so that when I came home from the gym to be with my family, whom I was ignoring for a month, I could just hop on the elliptical and be with them on the elliptical. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
I think if we were to do it again, we would have some pretty serious guardrails.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be, we all proved what we needed to prove to ourselves, and that'll last a lifetime. Like we can have
That's for sure.
Actual fitness parameters would be good. I mean, heck, I think everybody lost weight and got more fit, but we could have more of a friendly competition or more, even less of a competition and more of a, I think what we set out to do, we completely accomplished. And that's kind of a once in a lifetime experience, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you said the motivation changed for you a little bit out of your norm. Yeah. So where you're more internally motivated, but it does sound like there was that too.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
It takes a lot of discipline to be able to push through the hardship and rewire your brain in real time to say, I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm just going to push through. Those are lessons I took from that. It's not really about the calories burned. It's about I can do it.
Yep.
Because there was plenty of moments of self-doubt, and learning to push through those, you're going to get stronger the next time you do it. And for mental fortitude reasons, I felt like that was a total success for me personally. I think I ended up somewhere in the middle because some of you behemoths went 10, 11,000 MEPs.
Yeah.
But
I think
it was good.
I think competition, when you're competing one-on-one, there's always going to be a bit of that internal motivation because no matter how accountable you are to each other, how buddy you are, there is a part of you that's like, we're also trying to beat each other. And, you're trying to be the winner. And that, I think that was the only shred of internal motivation that remained throughout the whole competition, throughout the whole month was, I also am still trying to win, and that's for me inside. Like,
yeah,
that was a big part of it. It's just wanting to win or whatever. But yeah, a lot of it, there was the camaraderie that came out of it was really nice, and I didn't know that it would be that way, but it definitely. I'm not a sentimental person. I don't cry about a whole lot. My kids and my family, that's about it. But I get emotional. I am compassionate. I get emotional, but I'm not a super sentimental person outside of those things that kind of make us all a little sentimental. But I definitely was kind of surprised by the camaraderie that came about throughout the competition, and really starting to care more about, is this person going to keep up with the program? And then, really wanting them to, and not wanting to face, what if they don't? And then having to go through that emotional turmoil with them. Like, you failed. We know you failed. Like, that stinks for us too. Like, there was a bit of that, like just wanting people to keep pushing. And it wasn't all about myself. It was, I know that this person is doing this for a reason, and I really want them to just finish out the month because I know that we're all going to feel what they usually feel if they fail, if they stop. And that kind of like everybody kind of became one and was rooting each other along to at least finish the month, get to the end of the month and just say you did it. We all kind of became one in that way, wanting everyone to finish. And that was cool. Definitely that the scales tipped. Day one, everybody was like, I'm going to get out I'm going to fire out of the cannon here. We're going to win. And then day 28, we're all just happy that we finished, I think. I don't know. That's how I felt. Yeah.
And then the world shut down. So we couldn't continue. Not that we wanted to.
Thank goodness that we couldn't go to the gym anymore.
Yeah. Thank you for closing all the gyms, because then I had no choice. Yeah, I would like to just pivot. Those are good things. I want to talk a little bit more about masculinity and what that looks like in a healthy way. It seems to be a hot button topic in our culture.
Yeah.
Biblical masculinity, even, to what that looks like at home. Because it's easy to look at competition like that and be like, that's a lot of testosterone there. And it could be easy in certain friend groups, I think, for that to get too much and for that to be what takes over, and then it becomes a little bit more abrasive. And it's just like you said, like there is a balance to that, to where you can put into perspective and have some emotional intelligence about what really matters. And with just a piggyback on the FitFeb thing, I agree. I think for me, I saw everybody's goals and I saw everybody pushing hard, and I wanted them to see it through.
Right.
And I didn't want people to get discouraged because of
some
of the other numbers that the leaderboard were putting out.
Yeah.
But I'm so proud of all of them. It would be fun to get everybody in here, or at least some of them, and have their experience laid out, because it was miserable, but so good.
Yeah. It was good. I still think it was valuable.
Very valuable, very
Hasn't
terrible.
Changed. Yeah.
But in your experience, has there been a good balance of masculinity in your parenting and in your life? Because this is something this podcast is going to talk about. There's a lot of men who are hurting, a lot of men. And I think our culture is seemingly looking at the negative aspects of masculinity. And it's not to say that there's not a toxic masculinity, because there sure is.
Just like anything else.
Just like anything else. And if we could help to outline and learn, myself, what a good balance is for what masculinity should look like, what is it?
One of the most important things that I have to remember when it comes to raising my boys is masculinity does not look like conforming them to what some delusional idea of masculinity that I might have. Yelling at your kids is never good. Ignoring their feelings, number one, is never good. My oldest is very sensitive in a good way. He's emotionally sensitive, and that means that he will be in tune with other people, and it's really good. I think when young men are emotionally sensitive, that's often seen as, oh, you got to toughen them up, you got to turn them into men.
Weakness. It's seen as weakness.
Ask any woman what kind of man, their dream man. I guarantee you, being emotionally sensitive is going to be on that list. It's a good thing. Being emotionally sensitive means that you're going to be in tune with people, and you're going to be sensitive to situations and feelings, and that's something that you should cultivate. And it is, to me, one of the biggest trademarks of true masculinity is just having like EQ, being emotionally sensitive, being emotionally intelligent, and the whole idea of rah, like big, strong, tough, run fast, jump high, stoicism, all of that. There is benefit to all of that. That is all components of masculinity. You have to be able to provide for your family. You have to be silent and wise. You have to make decisions. Stoicism is super important, but it's not the only part of the equation. And I think, to me, what brings masculinity together, what completes the circle, is emotional intelligence. I think when you are emotionally sensitive to others and you can be in touch with your feelings, and that's not seen as a feminine quality, I think that to me is true masculinity, bringing it all together. I think everything is it's like a glue. Like, you can be stoic, you can try to be wise, you can try to be a provider, you can try to be strong and fit, you can try to be this and this and this. But if you don't have if you don't have high EQ, if you're not emotionally intelligent, that is like the glue that brings it all together in a healthy way. And so trying to raise my boys and keep that in mind so that I am sensitive to their sensitivities, and to not just teach all of the obvious manly qualities, like, run fast, lift lots of weights, make lots of money, have kids, be like tough guy. Like, that's all stupid. It doesn't work if you don't have emotional intelligence. So my oldest I think he's very emotionally intelligent. He's always been very sensitive. He is learning how to talk through his feelings and harness it. And he's teaching me, because I think that while I might be emotionally intelligent in some areas, my oldest has taught me that I lack a ton of emotional intelligence when it comes to raising emotionally intelligent boys. It's very easy for me to default to raising him to be tough. And, oh man, like I'm constantly faced with the reality that if I continue to do that, I will fail in raising him to be emotionally intelligent, because I'm just teaching him to stuff his feelings. And so, yeah, it's definitely been eye-opening having our firstborn, my first experience being a parent, present the hardest challenge for me in how to raise a child who is like, oh man, is he more emotionally intelligent than I am at 6? Yeah, it's difficult. But yeah, true masculinity, I think, involves being in touch with your emotions. It's like the glue, if you ask me. So,
exhibiting strength versus the persona of strength, even.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the characteristics you're talking about are things you wouldn't see necessarily. Being formidable, being competent, being somebody who can be relied upon, but also somebody who can be humble, and somebody who can be a leader in their home. I think that there's a pendulum swing a lot of times. So there seems to have been maybe a demonization of masculinity a lot in the last few decades. Yeah. And you got to find that middle balance back to it, because then you pendulum swing the other side. It's like, all I care about is my physique and, getting with women and showing my Bugatti and XYZ, right?
Materialism, yeah.
Yeah, there's a balance. And what really matters is that you know who you are emotionally intelligent with your spouse and with your kids, and then it kind of branches out into your community, and then you can start to sow into other people's
None
lives.
of that stuff is actually true if you don't, you can't truly be wise, you can't truly lead from behind, you can't truly be humble, You can't be any of those important qualities that men need to have if you're not actually emotionally intelligent. Stoicism without emotional intelligence makes you insensitive. It just makes you insensitive to people around you. Trying to be humble without emotional intelligence, good luck. You'll fail every time. Your anger will overtake you every time. Yeah, I just don't see how any of those masculine qualities can really shine without placing an importance on being emotionally intelligent and just remaining calm in situations, leading from behind. None of that stuff works if you're an emotional puddle. It just doesn't work. So,
yeah, and while all of those things may have a place and are significant pieces to the puzzle, if you're lacking some of the main pieces, your puzzle's incomplete. Right. My puzzle's incomplete.
Yeah,
like I'm constantly working on those things. It's a work in progress. This is a marathon.
Yeah, some of the stuff, like as I'm saying out loud, like thinking about how my 6-year-old was more emotionally intelligent than me is, yeah, like we're all, as we talk about these things, we all realize that we fall short and we're all work in progress 24/7.
That's it. Well, let me just take a quick pause and then we'll come back. We'll finish up and we'll get these people out of here. Yeah? Sure thing. Roger. This is a learning experience for us. We're excited to have a bunch of people on who have a lot to offer. And there's so many people like that around, even in our inner circles. But this area has a lot of people who I think are highly intelligent, remarkable, and inspirational people that any listener from any walk of life will be able to download from.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively. Yeah. Before we go, we're just going to wrap up really quick. I wanted just to get your thoughts on the path that this podcast is going to go and just give the listeners a little bit of an idea of the kinds of guests that we're going to have on.
Yeah. The guest list is, we kind of have, and it's ever growing. We have folks that we know we will be happy to come on, people we know, people we're excited to talk to. And our guest list has a dream section, people that we'd love to have on someday if it were possible. But the general idea is we want to talk to people who kind of like have ideas on some of the things that we've talked about in this episode, who can expound on what, being an exceptional person looks like. We all want to be a better version of ourselves. We all wish we were better fathers. We all wish better parents. We all wish we were better. We ate better. We all wish we worked out more. We all wish we were, had more discipline in our jobs or careers. We wish we were better business people. We wish we were, got up earlier. All the things that we wish we did. And some of us go our whole lives never knowing what it's like to do anything besides wish. And I think the idea is that we want to have people on who can talk to us in a way, give us their ideas, help us understand what are some actionable steps we can take to become the exceptional people that we all wish we were. All those things that we all have in common, all the things we all want to be better at. Get some people on here who have some experience in those departments and just soak in their knowledge and extract that knowledge and really internalize it and see if it can help us get to places that we all wish we were. That's, for me, the biggest thing is just learning from people who've been there, who have that experience. And maybe we can, some of us can go from being, we can achieve some goals, some accomplishments that we all have. That's the biggest thing for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to promote this in variants of ways, but I don't want anybody to think that they can't listen. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a wide range of people on, and it's going to cover a wide range of topics based on people we think are going to be beneficial. And I'm not too concerned with people who might not be interested in a topic not tuning in. Fine, that's fine. We're going to have people on that we want to talk to and who are interesting. And I'm really excited about it because some of the people on the list I really admire, and they're not a mainstream name necessarily. Somebody that I can learn in all the areas I need to get better at, in my faith, in my owning a company, especially stuff with my marriage and my kids. It's all very important stuff to me, and anybody can get something out of that. Yeah, I think that going forward, we're just going to be as authentic as we can be. This is not something that we have super high aspirations for at the moment, so we're just going to kind of go with it and be present and let them decide for themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's probably going to do it for today, man.
Wrap it up.
Thanks for coming in, making the pilgrimage over here.
Absolutely.
So we are going to be doing it every week. We're going to be releasing on Mondays, probably at 8 a.m. to our different outlets that'll be tagged. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe people want to listen while they're on their way to work.
Monday mornings, yeah.
Yeah, Monday mornings. And so I'm excited to do this with you, especially because I have a lot to learn from you. You're a very, very smart guy.
Yeah, you do.
I know.
Yeah, sure do.
Don't tell me about it.
Nah, I'm just a fella.
Yeah, we're all
Another
fellas.
fella.
Yep. So, thanks, man.
Yeah.
See you on the flip side.